Music has got to be perhaps the most subjective and divisive form of media there is. I could say that I really like rock music, and someone in my comments section would already be typing up this long diatribe to the effect of,
I do not like rock and roll music. It is too loud. I like folk music.
Additionally, I haven't really received any type of formal musical education. I don't understand music theory. I don't know how to read notes. I only know a couple chords on ukulele and things like that. I mostly memorize things and play them on instruments, but I have no concept of pace or anything like that. I couldn't really tell you about musical composition all that much. For those reasons, I don't really talk about music, for fear of people commenting something like, "Oh, you clearly don't know about harmony or musical composition, you troglodyte." Or, "This music played when a man came and stole my bike when I was 7 years old, and for that reason, it sucks." But I am an ape who loves music. Spoken and written words, and underdog stories. And today, I'm going to recount the story of one of my favorite musicians. And while today, in his home country, he's considered a little bit of a one-hit wonder, he's a constant hit in my heart. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of John Larkin, better known as Scatman John.
Hi everybody, I'm Scatman John. Remember me?
Scats where it's at, scats where it's at. As a matter of fact, scats where it's at. Scats where it's at, so take off your hat. As a matter of fact, scats where it's at, scats where it's at, scats where it's at. As a matter of fact, scats where it's at, scats where it's at, so take off.
John Paul Larkin was born on March 13th, 1942 in El Monte, California. From the time he first spoke, he would stutter severely. As a result, he had a very rough childhood, being made fun of by his classmates and kids in his neighborhood.
Speaking only for me, the hardest part for me in my life being a person who stutters was my childhood. It was traumatic, man. I remember one incident in about the 6th grade where I was to stand up in front of a classroom and try to recite a current event that was going on at that time. I studied that little tiny article for like 2 weeks, memorized every aspect of it. I got up in the classroom, broke out tears, and cried and went back to my seat. I could not get the first word out.
However, he lived in a very musical household. His mother introduced him to musicians like Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong, and by the age of 12, he was already playing piano and scat singing.
I sat down and I played, and I figured out the harmonies and all of that. Because, see, I had to find out some other way to talk, because my stuttering was terrible in my childhood, so I had to find some other way to get it out, to express myself. And so I remember sitting down, pounding on the piano. I say, hey, there's something in here for me.
He had found a refuge for himself. But despite this, John would continue to be mocked and made fun of for his stuttering, which led him to seek less healthy ways to deal with his issues.
I took my first drink about the age of 14, and I said, wow, this feels good. And I can even kind of like talk better, and I can kind of like even hide from myself somewhat.
Ultimately, John would eke out an existence playing piano in a variety of little jazz bars and clubs across the United States. He described this time in his life as him hiding out.
I hid out in jazz clubs. I could always play the piano. And about 1992, I got to hotels in Europe. I could still hide there. I spent years and years and years trying to be cool and hip and all of that. which had nothing to do with jazz music. It was all an image, a genre I was trying to put out because I was afraid to show you who I really was. And I think I was ashamed of myself for years because I happened to be a person who stutters. I've been stuttering ever since I've been speaking. I used music to hide it. I had to be cool and hip because I didn't want to show you who I really was. I did not want to be just only John.
But opportunity would strike in 1986 when John was given the chance to make his own album, simply titled John Larkin. But only a few records of it were printed, and it did not receive any widespread commercial success. This was the 80s after all. Jazz was much less popular than it is now, and even now it's not that popular.
In this society, you can't always become what you want. I struggled for years as a jazz artist. With or without the stuttering, it was still tough. I don't think America takes care of its jazz artists as well as it could. There, I said it.
Even so, being a fan of jazz myself, I really do like this album. He really sings his soul out in this album, I think more than any of his other albums. It's much more raw, but you really get to see John's lyricism shine here, something that would reflect in his later works.
Somebody asked what's the meaning of jazz, and I said we're the misfits, and all I can tell you is while you're still sleeping, the saints are still weeping, 'cause things you call dead haven't yet had the chance to be born.
A few years later, John would decide to go clean. It's while in rehab that he met his wife, Judy McHugh, daughter of American composer Jimmy McHugh. She would encourage him to start playing music in Europe, where the jazz scene was considerably more alive at that time.
I had to come to Europe. I had to go someplace to find a career.
Little did he know that this decision would change his life forever.
Manfred Zeringer, he was my manager, and he was booking me into a hotel. One day I scat sang for him, and my wife gave him a tape of me scat singing to Thelonious Monk's Well You Needn't. Manfred heard that, and he called me at the hotel that he had me playing at and said, "Man, we're going to do something for you."
My agent called me and proposed the idea of scat rap. I said, "Oh yeah, sure, scat rap. Right on, man." And into the studio. And scat sang for like 6 hours. I took some words off of a song I sang on the Joe Farrell album I made, and all of a sudden out popped the first single, Scatman. And I said, okay, all right, let's see if this one gets on the charts.
I'm a scat man. I'm a scat man.
John would release his first album under the name of Scatman John on July 10th, 1995. This album, titled Scatman's World, was deeply personal for John and served as a concept album for his philosophies and approaches to life.
In Scatman's World on the album, I try to pick certain social situations, and I try to offer a way to handle them. And in that way of offering a way to handle it, I offer a way to find peace in yourself. Find peace in yourself. If you're not friends with yourself, you don't have a chance. The whole Scatman project is about something positive. It's part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Scatman writes all of his own words, and the words are intended to pick certain social situations and offer a positive way to handle them.
This album is, without a doubt, his most commercially successful. His two most popular songs come from this album. The first, the title track of the album, Scatman's World, was number 1 on the weekly charts in Belgium, Finland, France, Germany, Hungary, and Spain. However, the other song is perhaps his most popular. It's the one that everybody knows him for.
I'm the Scatman.
While ranking fairly low on the US Billboard Top 100 at the time of its release, this song was at the top of the charts in over 11 different countries. This scat singing 50-year-old was in the limelight and people loved him. But more important to me than numbers was the content of these songs. You see, and I say this with a lot of love, European dance music of the 1990s didn't really have any particular soul to it. Songs didn't really have much to say. Like, take the music of Blümchen, for example. I love her music from this time, but I can't deny that her early work is rather repetitive. While the song is rather uplifting, I certainly want to dance to it, it has no deeper lyricism or any connection to any personal life. It's just a song that makes you want to tap your toes and shake your butt. Meanwhile, Scatman John's over here singing about stuttering, uplift, the woes of the modern world, and wanting to be a better person. And it's instantly more fascinating and resonating to me than just sharing about how you're falling in love with some dude over and over again.
Everybody's born to compete as he chooses, but how can someone win if winning means that someone loses? I sit and see and wonder what it's like to be in touch. No wonder all my brothers and my sisters need a crutch. I want to be a human being, not a human doing. I couldn't keep that pace up if I tried. The source of my intention really isn't crime prevention. My intention is prevention of the lie. Yeah, welcome to the Scatman's world.
John had experienced some great success, which would lead him to release another album only a year later.
We had the first album, I had the first album to learn from. Everybody's gonna sit here and say, the second album is much better than the first album. That's what you're expecting to hear, right? Well, the point is that it is.
Well, not his most commercially successful album. Everybody Jam, released November 25th, 1996, is my personal favorite album of Scatman John. You can tell that John had a lot of fun with this album, like his previous one. The biggest track off of it, the title track of the album, Everybody Jam, being a tribute to his longtime hero and inspiration, Louis Armstrong. It continues a lot of the same topics of self-love and self-acceptance, but also this is probably John's most political album.
Besides Everybody Jam, there's a song on it called Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Mind. It's a song that I wrote for politicians. Did I say that? Okay. It's a song I wrote for politicians, man. You know, for people who aren't in touch with what's going on in the world, who are up there claiming to be in touch. Great text on it.
Your campaign slogan says you want to make a change, you want to help the hungry and mentally deranged. Stop being arrogant, come down off your shelf, cause you can't help no one if you can't help yourself. Shut your mouth and open your mind. Stepping on your own shoes, stepping on your own shoes. Shut your mouth and open your mind.
But I think my favorite song off of this album is Message for You. Here John seems to speak directly to the listener, talking to the downtrodden and defeated people of the world. There's a line from the song that I like to quote in times of hardship, but I'm going to save it for later in the video. For now, it should be said that while this album was not as big as his previous one, John had one more left in him. Take Your Time, released on June 1st, 1999. It would turn out to be the final album released in his lifetime. Sadly, in 1998, John Larkin had been diagnosed with lung cancer. Yet he still managed to record the whole album, even though he's largely being accompanied by other singers and musicians. While this album is not quite as successful or popular as his other two albums, being that it is largely focused on dance songs, he has some good songs on here. My favorite being Dream Again, probably the most soothing non-Scatman song that I've ever heard.
Listen to the waves breaking like thunder. No wonder there's peace in your heart. It's easy. It's as easy as love. A gift to us from heaven above. You can live again when everything you know is blown away by the gentle wind. Cause happiness is the freedom you feel looking up to the blue sky. Everything's real.
Ultimately, John Paul Larkin would pass away on December 3rd, 1999. He was 57 years old, another kind soul taken from us on the shores of the new millennium.
I used to have inferiority complexes. I thought that people were more than me, and I thought I used to be so crazy, but now I'm not. I don't know if it's the same thing today, but when I grew up, I was taught it isn't who I am, it's what I do. I am not who I am, that doesn't matter, and that is wrong. As soon as I found out that I'm enough, just the way I am, was the very same day I wanted to do something with my life. But when I don't know who I am and I'm stuck in confusion and problems, I have to do something then to survive. But as soon as I found peace inside of me and I found out I'm okay, I wanted to help people. And tell them, hey, everything is all right, man. In spite of the world and the craziness, everything is all right. Have a good time. You know, nobody knows what's happening. Everything that we conform to today is a human being's idea, and they may not be the correct idea. So I would suggest just take your time, kids. Take your time. The message of Scatman is anybody out there who has something going on inside of them or outside of them that's holding them back. Maybe you're supposed to have that for a purpose. There's an old saying I heard, if it doesn't kill you, it will gradually serve you, and it's true. Your greatest fear and pain can turn around to be your servant. It's true. It's true for me, and I think it can be true for all of us.
I had discovered Scatman John's music at perhaps one of the most significant times of my life. I had graduated high school and started my first year of college. It was a very anxious, very scary time for me. was so much uncertainty. I was truly on my own. It was then that a friend of mine had introduced me to the music of Scatman John. Mind you, I had always known the song Scatman from every sporting event and carnival that I've went to, but I had never delved into his other songs. But I'm glad that I did. His music really spoke to me. Scatman John helped this nervous, neurotic 18-year-old kid realize who he really wanted to be. Kind, understanding, uplifting, but above all, myself. In a way, and my dad watches my YouTube videos, so Dad, I hope you don't think this is weird for me to say, but in a way, John reminded me a lot of my dad. One of my oldest memories from middle school was making this poster that represented the light spectrum. And it was the first time that I had worked on a project all on my own. And when I showed it to my dad, he loved it. So much so, I remember him saying, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, "I love it 100% because it's 100% you." That quote from my dad also occupies the same space in my mind as another quote from Scatman John, from his song, A Message for You. Happiness is really your dreams coming true. Your dreams will come true if you stay true to you. Both these quotes I've carried in my mind, and I whip them out whenever my friends are feeling down or defeated, or when I feel down or defeated. It's odd though. John never had any children. But in a way, we were all his children. He was kind to all he encountered. I think about this email that he sent to a fan who was unable to attend a conference for stutterers, but who he encouraged nevertheless. The compliment of giving yourself a pat on the back applies immediately. You are looking at your stuttering straight in the eye. You are confronting it. That is what matters. You are in the process of owning your stuttering instead of stuttering owning you. You are moving out of being a victim of stuttering. Your genuine attempt to get to the convention is every bit as meaningful as getting to the convention itself. You are in recovery now. You are doing this for yourself and no one else. You are taking charge of your life's direction. This is the bravest thing that a human being can do. You know in your heart that you did your best, and the best is all you can do. Stay in touch with me. This stuttering business is a little too big to handle by yourself. You can do it for yourself, but not by yourself. I would ask God to bless you, but he already has. Keep in touch, Gina. John. I often wonder why I make the videos I do. I mean, I won't lie to you, it's a laborious process. It can take anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months to put one of these babies together. But I feel so much joy when I put them together. They're some of the truest expressions of myself that I can feel and that I can give. I love doing it. Hell, I do it for free. And I don't particularly care how many subscribers I have or how many views I get, because at the end of the day, I have put effort into something that brings joy to myself and others. I want to tell you my thoughts, ruminate on themes, recommend games, do silly things, act, sing, write, live. Because it's all 100% me. And I want to stay true to me. I made this video to honor a man who I respect very much and who has had a profound impact on my life. Although I find it funny, many people giggle when I bring up the topic of Scatman, like he's such an oddity, this weird little analogous man in a jazz outfit. But one thing that I can't deny, Scatman John, is just how uniquely him he is. Now listen, we all struggle, we all have problems, and we all try our best. But we must not be another face in the crowd. We must not sacrifice our own happiness to conform to others. We can't just slumber miserably through life, hiding out from ourselves and others. Because you see, while you're still sleeping, the saints are still weeping. And those things you call dead haven't yet had the chance to be born. Be ba 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 da bo, ba 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 da bo, be ba 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 da bo, ba 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 da ba da 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 be ba 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 da bo, ba 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 da bo, be ba 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 da bo, ba 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 da bo, skibbity on da da da, da 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 da, skibbity on da da da, da da da, skibbity on da da da. Yo da da da, skibbity on da da da, yo da da da,